additional, excuse me, you were correct, Shirley. Thank you. That's why you sit right here. It is 2:15. We delayed the start of this meeting for about 15 minutes since we changed our location from City Hall to this location. So we'll call the meeting to order. The first thing we have on the agenda is a period of public comment. This is for public comment on something that is not on the regular agenda. If you have something you would like to speak to the board about that is not on the agenda, we ask that you come forward now. Try to limit your time to 3 minutes, and you can. But if your item is on the agenda and you want to make public comment on that, then please just wait till that agenda item comes up in order. So is there anyone that wants to make any public comment? Here we come. If you would just state your name into the microphone so everybody can hear you, and go ahead.
Zane White. For over 2 years now, I've been publicly and privately providing documented proof of outrageous public corruption involving the City of San Angelo municipal government regarding illegal construction-related projects at local mega-millionaire Lee Pfluger's Cactus Hotel, located in the historic downtown San Angelo. The majority of this illegality has been initiated by the COSA Planning and Development Services Department with full corrupt support from COSA City Manager Daniel Valenzuela and COSA City Manager Teresa James. The entire COSA City Council has been complicitly corrupt regarding this corruption, and the San Angelo Design and Historical Review Commission, also known as the DHRC, has as well. Unfortunately, this tax increment reinvestment zone board has been intentionally or unintentionally involved in the public corruption, though I believe it will plead plausible deniability. TIRZ Board Director John Mark Hogg and board members Greg Kaler and Trey Holmes have already received meticulous, comprehensive written proof from me that the recent $75,000 TIRZ grant awarded to Lee Pfluger for Cactus Hotel renovations was fraudulently obtained due to unethical and illegal actions by the planning department. John Mark is known as an extremely competent local attorney. Greg and I went to school and church together, and he's a respected, long-standing local businessman. Trey is a respected businessman, a very popular local influencer, and leads a local church congregation. I'm not as familiar with the rest of you, but you'll soon be receiving the same detailed written information these three gentlemen have already received. Due to public comment time limitations, here is a very brief synopsis of the aforementioned TIRZ grant fraud. In January of 2023,
Mr. White, you have 1 minute left.
Thank you. In January of 2023, DHRC commissioners were irrefutably lied to by planning staff about the historic appropriateness of replacing existing fabric awnings with metal awnings. As a result, Pfluger's DHRC application was approved and forwarded to TIRZ for approval. Based upon the 2022 City Council adoption of the United States Department of Interior Standards of Historic Restoration, metal awning replacements at the Cactus Hotel unquestionably are not historically appropriate. In early 2024, Pfluger presented an entirely new TIRZ proposal request, this time including roughly $38,000 worth of construction improvements which had never been reviewed or approved by the DHRC. If the approval was given per administrative approval by the planning department, that approval was obviously unethical and corrupt. If this TIRZ board is ethical, they should immediately demonstrate appropriate integrity by insisting that Lee Pfluger be subject to a new legitimate TIRZ grant application for his currently illegitimate grant. If not, then this board will be arguably complicit with theft from the San Angelo taxpayers in the amount of $75,000.
Mr. White, you're out of time. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to make a public comment at this time? Good afternoon. Just please state your name.
Jamal Shumper, single member district number.
You need to take your mask off so I can understand you. I can't understand you.
take my mask off. But Jamal Shumpert, single member, District Number 3. I did have a suggestion for Getha Main Baptist Church.
Okay.
Maybe they could set up an incubator program where they're actually building businesses, possibly a food truck, because it isn't a lot of like food businesses around there with variations, and a food truck will give you a variation. That would possibly allow them, maybe the city council would vote to approve them, but the program would have to be legitimate. And guess the mayor would probably have to, agree to, do the program themselves. Another suggestion, well, not necessarily suggestion, but Mr. Pfluger did make a suggestion about using TIRZ funding for multiple floors to fix up a building. While at the scope, just looking at it face front, it is a great idea. But in the end, there's no telling who's going to be on this board, who will be, whether they take advantage of it or not. It could lead to a predatory owner situation because that'll be leasing out each floor of the building. Those people won't own it, and it'll be TIRZ money going towards it. I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but, I mean, it could end up being predatory without the correct rules. What Mr. White was talking about, I was kind of curious. It kind of rocked me. I came up here to talk about much more, but I do think there are some weird things going on with the city council and the departments about them telling the public one thing and then coming back and telling y'all to do another thing. That's like multiple departments and councils. I would just encourage you guys to stay strong. Y'all been doing a good job, and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that has a public comment? All right. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from the February 27th, 2024 meeting. Those were emailed around to each of you. Does anyone have any, and you have a copy, you should have a copy there with you. If you have, are there any changes or corrections to the minutes of the last meeting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion by Ms. Spears.
Second.
Second by Mr. Newland. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll sign the minutes now so Hannah doesn't have to run me down the parking lot afterwards. All right. Next item is number 3, the financial report. Mr. Benoit.
Good afternoon, TIRZ Board, Chairman Hogue, Aaron Vanoy, Planning Director and Development Services. So here we have our North Side financial report. You can see the date is from the 31st of 2024. We have not had any expenditures or grants out of the north as of yet, although we will have that opportunity today. You can see our beginning balance there of $3.1 million. You can see the property tax valuation and the income that came in, and then you see our expenditures below that with the total expenditures of 1.9. That's from the private incentives that are committed, and we plan on bringing you a report on that number, that 891, to give you a status of where those projects are at the next meeting at the end of this month, so that we can look to see if there's any dollars that are sitting out there that we need to put back into the fund if somebody's not moving forward with a project. So with the expenditures taken out on the north, we have $2.3 million, which is a significant amount. It continues to grow. It is interesting to see that the property tax valuation, just remember that 1.1 when we start looking at the south number. It's just a little interesting on what we have on the south. So before I go to the south, are there any questions on the north revenue and expenditures?
Any questions?
On the Chadburn Street, 859, 195, is that for the seal coating, or what is that?
That is for the Chadburn Street project that they did the streetscape. That is the north portion from where Chadburn begins in the north tier zone, moving up. As I understand, we have this 2024 payment, and we have one last payment in 2025, as we understand it, talking with our finance. So you'll see that number again next year, but after that, that should drop off.
So that will result in somewhat of a savings.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
would be-
There would be additional funds in
Okay.
that north area. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the north? All right, let's move on to the south.
All right, so our south, again, we had a beginning zone balance of 653,000. You can see the property tax here, even compared to the north, this is 1.2. I think that's a very positive number for our south area. We're normally in around the 700,000, and so that's a very significant increase in this last year. I suspect that will change our interest income over the next year unless we happen to spend it all and we don't have that much sitting there for interest. But that gives us a total revenues, it says, of 1.2. And then our expenditures, you can see that our private incentives that are outstanding, again, we're going to come back with a evaluation of those to see what's still out there that may be 2 years plus, to see if we need to bring dollars back into the fund. Again, the Chadburn Streetscape project, the streetscape maintenance and operating, so 880,000 coming out there. So available for assignment, you see right there, 979,366. I want y'all to remember that I want to say it might have been January or February, that we did 356,702 out of that for our first round of the South expenditures. So, and Hannah will have a slide later when she presents her information, but that left 622,664. So we have $622,664 still in the South for private incentives, or as y'all see fit to utilize this year. With that, are there any questions on the South financials? Yes, sir.
Brown?
That $3,000 interest, is that from what months?
That's a good question. As I understand, talking with finance, that is from the entire year, and then that was what they put into this fund from interest, from balance from the previous. So that,
When was the 1.2 million in property tax put into your account?
I believe it was in October or November, whenever they had the final numbers, and then that actually hits, I think, in January.
That $3,000 figure should be significantly higher than what you've shown.
Okay. I can certainly look into that and talk with our finance folks to help me with that.
I've asked this before, and I really cannot stress, it's really important that we get it as up to date as possible on interest, because that affects our decision, particularly in the South.
Yes, sir.
And your money's invested in certificates in their 30, 60, 90 days, and it's rolling off every month. That interest should be coming in every month. So if you can prevail upon finance or somebody to get that figure updated. And I suspect the North's not updated either, but
Okay.
I would appreciate it.
I will
Thank you.
look into that, and I'll give you a report at the end of this month.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Next item, number 4, is consideration of a request for the extension of 61 North Chadburn.
All right, 61 North Chadburn did get some funding for facade improvements. You can see here on the right side of the screen, this is the front of their building and this is the back of the building. While they have been able to start the project, they have not been able to complete the project. Their time limit, as you can see, would have expired in March. And so this has also kind of prompted Hannah and I to go back and look, and well, if they're kind of a little behind, there might be some others behind. We want to make sure that we're getting everybody through with their projects. They have asked for an extension. They have had some challenges with materials. Even with the inside of the building, they were having some challenges with permitting and things like that that we've all resolved trying to help them forward. But they are asking for an extension, and the city staff does recommend a 6-month extension starting today. That would get them right up to the December timeline, and they should be able to complete their project by that time. I believe the applicant is here as well, if y'all had any questions for them.
Now, let's just see the feeling of the board. I generally don't have any problems with the first extension. Does anybody else have any concerns or want to hear anything from the applicant? Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the extension request for 61 North Chadbourne? Apparently not. You gonna move, Trey?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Trey Mulholland makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Newland. Is there any other discussion? And is there, I will open it up for any public comment on this if anyone wants to speak to it. I know the applicant is here. Like I said, generally, we don't have any problems with giving at least the first extension on it. So, but if you want to speak, you certainly can.
Chairman, I have a question.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from the applicant, and
All right.
I'd like to know the type of business that this is.
My name is Bria Burke. So it's going to be a commercial property, as basically, we don't have any plan for turning it into any kind of business. It'll be a rental, commercial rental property.
Is that like for an office space, or what exactly?
Yes, or retail, or, depending on what the applicant wants it for. We don't really know yet. We want to finish the project, and then we'll decide who we rent it to. But yeah, we're going to rent it either retail or commercial offices or some business that I guess at that point they would have to file for their own occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there, all right, if there is no other, is there any other discussion or questions? No other public comment? All right, and we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is an update on 123 North Chadbourne.
So if y'all recall, in the first cycle of the South funding for this fiscal year, 123 North Chadbourne, which is the Blue Buffalo, came forward with a mural project on the north side of their building, which is on 3rd Street. Since that award, and even through City Council, the award of their dollars, they have chosen to sell the property. And through our policies and everything, that negates their grant award.
Okay.
And so we just wanted to update you guys on that they provided us with the deed where they did sell it. And so we will be moving forward to City Council to request that just over $20,000 to come back into the South Fund. Once that comes into the South Fund, then that might be available for assignment in this fiscal year.
Okay.
So we just wanted to give you an update on that.
And just to educate me again on the process of when that happens, because it doesn't happen that often, but when they do not follow through with it, do we have to approve it, or does it just go to council and council sends it back? What's the process?
It really goes to council, since they're the ones that actually do the final approval to approve the funds to be spent. And so we do have that agreement. We will go through and nullify the agreement and then have a line item for council to place these dollars back into the South TIRZ.
Okay. All right,
Assuming they do not reimburse the city the $20,000, is the city attorney prepared to put a lien on the property?
Well, and Mr. Brown, they have not received the $20,000 because they did not complete the project. They did not start. So we just have an agreement with
Oh,
them.
you haven't, okay.
So we have not had any
Received no money. Okay,
expenditures. Yes,
excuse
sir.
me. Never mind.
I just want to make sure on the paperwork that it actually comes back into the South TIRZ.
But there's no action the board needs to take.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. Next item is consideration and possible action on several applications in the North TIRZ area.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Hannah Morrell, Coordinator for Development Services. I will be presenting 5 north applications for you guys. I think if you guys decide if y'all want to just vote for the 5 first before we move on
I would
to
suggest
south.
that you present all 5.
Yes.
And then we'll just kind of poll the group and see if they wanted to do them all at once or
Right.
individually.
Okay, that works. So here's just a little breakdown of everything. Like I said, and like the financial report said, it's all right here. We didn't really recommend the funding amount this round, mostly because we have a plethora of money in this round as well. So that's where we are with this. We're going to start with 2830 North Chadburn. These come in 3 little, it's all in one, so you'll see 3 that are alike. They're requesting $75,000 and their proposed project cost is $181,000. The summary looks like it's going to be facade improvement, mostly roofing and replacing or doing some R paneling. So you'll see on the left side, it looks like that's what it looks like now, and then the right side is what they're proposing without R paneling.
You said something about 3 alike. Are they by the same owner, or is it 3
So
different
it's
properties?
not, it's just, they're all 3 on the same property.
Okay.
So it's like a
All right.
suite A, suite B, suite C. I don't know if they're the
Yeah,
same owner.
I think they are
Yes.
all the same applicant.
Okay.
Okay. So 3 properties essentially with 1 applicant.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then here's the back side of it, just with the R paneling all over again.
Go ahead.
Perfect, so we have B now. They're asking for $75,000 as well. Their proposed project cost is $122,000, and they're looking to do facade improvement and window installation for this one. Here's what it looks like now to the left, and then to the right is what they're proposing. I believe they would want to make this office, I believe, just kind of get it back up and running.
And the paneling, is it vinyl siding that they're going to do? Is that what's the plan?
They said it's going to be R panel.
R panel?
Yes, sir.
Well, if I knew what R panel was, then that would probably help me a lot. But
I believe the applicant's here as well today, if you have any questions.
It's metal siding.
yeah, that's what I assumed.
And then here's the other side of it as well. So C, on the same property, they're asking for 75 as well, and their project cost is going to be about 158,000. They're looking to also do some facade improvement, replace some supports, do R paneling, and do R paneling on the roof as well.
Okay.
So basically the same as the last couple.
Okay.
And then here's the other side of it as well from the street view. Okay, and then we have 1602 North Chadburn. They're requesting $24,857, and they are looking to brick the existing pillars that they have and brick the existing windows that they have as well. They're broken right now, I believe, and then replace the front door and pave the parking. This picture is a little bad on this slide, it looks like.
They're asking us to fund the entire project?
Yes, so since they're in the north per our policy, if it's less than 25,000, then
There's no match.
There's no
grant
match.
required.
So they're just looking to break these existing pillars that are right there. And also the broken windows and such, and redo the paving as well. I don't know why this picture is showing up like this, but
So they're going to brick the piers that are there, the poles?
yes, sir. And then for 1604 North Chadburn, it's just right next to it. They're also asking for $24,650. They're looking to redo the signage, exterior paint, and some facade improvements. I don't know why these pictures showed up like this. Sorry. So they're looking to just add a new sign, which is right here. It's just a light up sign. I'm not sure why the picture just washed out. And then basically just update with the painting and stuff as well.
Okay. Is the 1602 and the 1604, those both a single owner as well?
I believe so.
Okay. So we got 2 owners applying for all these projects?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right. All right, well, let me just kind of take the poll of everyone? Would y'all like to break these up and look at them independently? Would you like to review them or discuss them all at
Hear
once?
from the owner of the suite A, B, and C.
Okay, well, then I think we'll just take them in that order. We'll just take up the A, B, C, and then since the other one, we'll take up the others
Okay.
separately.
Start with A right there for him.
All right. All right. Is the applicant here? I think it's two owners. You own A, B, and C on 2830 North Chadbourn?
Yeah, well, no, there is three separate owners. I'm the representative for all three investors for
okay,
the
all right,
properties.
okay.
Yes, sir.
All right,
I'm overseeing the three projects altogether.
okay. But are you connected with the projects on 1602 North Chadbourn?
No, sir.
Okay, so just the 2830 North Chadbourn?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell us a little bit about these projects and what the plan is.
Man, I know you didn't see any pictures of the inside of the buildings, but they're quite dilapidated, the front two. The back one's a mechanic shop, so the inside it's in okay shape for a mechanic shop. But there is a lot of work to be done, especially on the second one for the interior. The main reason we were going with the R panel is because that back building, the mechanic shop, is already an old metal. And so we were wanting to go back with the metal on it, but then we didn't want it to stand alone from the front two buildings. And then the bar already has, it used to be a bar and it used to be a convention center. It already has a little bit of our panel on one side. So we were thinking that just adding on to that and doing our panel on all three would bring the look together, and leaving the existing stone that's showing as well. And we thought that would be a good look for it, for the downtown.
Is there plans for all three of the properties, or is this just fixing them? Are we just doing facade grants, or is there somebody planning to go in them and do something?
No, we are. On the front one, there is some water damage on the interior ceiling joist and on the sheetrock. It's mostly going to be going through and repainting and fixing the sheetrock, and then the flooring is going to completely come out, and we're going to do a new epoxy floor. And then the middle one is going to be quite a good deal of work. It has extensive water damage. So I do imagine on the middle one, we're going to have to take out the actual subfloor, the sheetrock down to the studs, and any frame damage that there is, we're going to have to either replace or repair where we can, So, I mean, it's only on the mechanic shop in the back, and even it had a little bit of, there was a couple of weak spots on the roof where we were going to have to go in and probably either, add some supports or replace some of the supports. But it will be a complete redo on the first two, inside and out. And then like I said, on the mechanic shop, it's already being used on the inside as a mechanic shop. So it's really just the exterior that needed the majority of the work.
Okay, and how many of these buildings are occupied now, or any of them?
Only the mechanic shop is in use right now.
And that's the two-story one?
No, the mechanic shop is the big one in the
Big
back,
one,
the big metal
okay.
building. Yes, sir. So that's why we're wanting to do this, because it's our hope that once we go in and redo what used to be it used to be a bar at one point, but it was also a place to have, avenues and do quinceañeras and things of that nature. That's our hope, is once we fix it up, that we can go back to renting it out for things of that nature. And then that two-story, it's kind of just a small efficiency. So we just planned on turning it into like a little commercial office. And we were hoping that whoever ends up with the mechanic shop would probably want to use that for their office space.
Okay,
Or, anybody that wants to use it as office space. But there's no way it can be residential, between the two commercial buildings.
okay.
Do you have signed lease tenants for them?
Speak in your microphone if you don't mind.
We have someone that is interested in the front building already.
I've said, do you have signed leased tenants?
No, for the mechanic shop, we have a signed lease tenant,
Okay.
but not for the front building or the middle building. Like I said, we do have someone that's already interested in renting out that front building, but he wants to see the work completed first.
Any other questions from the board? Shirley?
So on the front, you're gonna have that back into use as like for events, am I clear on that?
Yes.
And how many square feet is that, roughly?
Man, I'm sorry, I left my paper back there. It's a good amount of square footage. I mean, it pretty much has a whole dance floor built into it with just a little area for them to have a place for cold storage,
And what's the parking situation like?
The parking is kind of shared between the three buildings, kind of But I mean, there's a good amount of parking in front of what used to be the bar off to the side. So I do believe you could have an event there and there would be enough parking to accommodate it.
I'm just curious in terms of if this gets done and, what type of issues might be presented if there's not ample parking.
Right. No, and it's been used for these purposes before in the past, and there weren't any issues back then when it was used for events. So I don't think it would be an issue.
Kind of refresh my memory. If they're approved, how long does the owner have to complete the project?
The standard timeline is 2 years, and so they have 2 years from the date of the execution of the agreement. And of course, once you have your recommendation, it goes to city council for 2 readings, and so it would be a 24-month period, and then they might ask for an extension if they weren't able to get it finished.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And y'all can do that?
Yes, sir.
You got a contractor already lined up?
Yes, sir.
And I believe, and he may have mentioned this already, I believe these front 2 structures used to be on the boarded buildings and close to dangerous buildings.
Yes.
And so I think that's important to note as well, is that they're trying to rehab it, to make it useful in some way.
The staff concurs in this recommendation to grant the funds?
Yes, sir.
This is one y'all haven't made any recommendation on an amount. The application is for $75,000, and you have to look at what the total project costs were.
Correct.
Once you present again, so.
Correct, but we would recommend, there's 3 addresses here. Each of the projects individually would be very important. We did feel like, as we talked as a staff group, there was 4 of us in the staff group that evaluated these. We thought that they did merit funding. Given the dollar amount in the north, we did think that at the time they did merit the full funding, but of course that is y'all's discretion to look at and make a decision on, do we give them full funding or do we give them a different amount?
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
I will, if there is any other public comment on these projects, you can come forward now. And
Go to the screen that has the
Hannah, could
total.
you, Ms. Muir, I keep trying to say your last name, and I know I'm saying it wrong. Mural.
It's Morel.
Morel, I know.
So close. It's okay.
I'm trying. You'd think a guy with the last name of Hogg would be able to make that.
So I want to make sure, I'm going to ask them, y'all are recommending 75 for each project?
Yes, sir.
And
Okay.
can you just run through what the total project estimated cost is on each of them?
For each of
so we
them?
can have that
Yes, let
for
me
discussion.
start with A. So for A, it's $181,080.
Okay. And then B,
B, they're proposed $122,000.
okay.
And for C, $158,460.
What's the board's pleasure?
Do you remember in the past if we ever had 3 different fundings for one property?
Not that I recall, but
The most that we could find in records was 2 on the same kind of parcel. They were,
Yeah.
again, suite A and B type of situation.
and as far as priorities, I think what we've done in the past, as far as priorities, is if you have an applicant come back who's already been awarded, then they get less priority, but that primarily takes place in the south where funds
There's
are-
multiple.
There's
Correct.
more projects that applying than we have funds for.
And I'm familiar with these. I've been in 2 of the buildings before, and it seems like it's exactly what the money is for.
Yeah.
Because it's
It doesn't
right
make
there on
sense.
it's right there on the corridor, and it's
Yeah.
been in disrepair for
A long time,
15 years.
longer than that.
It doesn't make sense to not do them all.
Yeah.
If you do one, you better do the other 2.
So
I'll
someone,
make the motion approved.
okay, motion been made by Mr. Brown to
Second.
approve, seconded by Mr. Newland. Is there any discussion? Just to the motion? All right, hearing no other discussion or questions, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, and now can we hear from the applicant for the 1602 and 1604 projects on North Chadbourn? Hi, could you please just state your name in the microphone?
Okay, Carla Cardenas.
All right, Carla, you just tell us about your project, what's your
Yeah,
plan?
so here, 1602 Angelo MMA, we've been there for a little over 10 years, and I've been trying to bring it to the TIRZ recently. I found out about it. But throughout the years, we've had to maintain, these windows. There's people just randomly breaking them, and it's a big concern for us because we have a huge kids group and a huge women's program there too. So, here these last couple of months, I've had them boarded up because it's very expensive to fix those big, oversized windows. So we've had vandalism there, and we've had a couple of cars crash into our brick wall. So I just thought, if I could brick the pillars a little bit bigger, maybe it'd be a little bit more of a safety benefit for us. So, everything I put in to the tiers here is for safety, and of course to look nicer on the north side. That's my goal.
And you spoke about the windows. What is the plan for the windows?
Well, what I'd like to do instead of continuously replacing them, because I know this is not going to be the last time that happens. This is probably the fourth or fifth time in the last 10 years, maybe even more. But I'd like to just brick the whole entire front of that building and, just have that one commercial door in front.
Okay.
Have you had cars run through the building?
Through the corner, yes, sir. Uh-huh.
You can put up bollards in front of the parking area and stop.
Yeah, yes, I need to do that too. But yeah, that's what we got there on the 1602, and we recently acquired next door at 1604. I don't know if we need to move on to that or not, but
Well, let me just ask a couple of questions on
Okay.
this. You said you've been in business there for 10 years?
Uh-huh.
Okay. How many students, just on average, how many students do you have?
well, now we've really, really grown, so we're probably around 300 or so students all together as a group. We have children, women, and adult men.
And I think everybody knows what you're teaching there is mixed martial arts?
Yes.
Self-defense. All right. Any other questions? All
You're
right.
not willing to put a little skin in the game,
I'm sorry?
put some money up. You're asking for a 100% grant.
Yes, sir. So, I'd be very thankful if y'all could help me with that. But I understand what you're saying. It's all these years, this building, I don't know if we could look back how it used to look. I've put in so much work into this building and next door. It did not look like this. And I don't plan on not continuing to make it look better. Matter of fact, maybe next month or the next month I have plans for a totally different section. I really want the north side to improve, and y'all will see what I bring next. It's just been years of saving, and that's my goal. I don't want anybody to look down on the north side, and I can only do little by little. So
Tell us about the 1604 property. And you said you just recently acquired that?
yes, I had a couple of years now, but these couple of years I've put in, work into it. So it didn't look like what it looks like now, but it was a vacuum shop for over 50 years. And of course, we're really good friends. So when that gentleman decided to move on or retire, he offered the property to us. So, we took that, and we've been trying to, little by little, make it better. And it's a nice spot.
Tell us what your plans are for this building.
So we just recently opened. It's a shake shop. Healthy drinks, healthy shakes, healthy eats, things like that. And so we've been open a little over a month now, and it's been going great, thank God. But I just really want to make it look nicer, have a little bit more protection when the customers come in. Like you said, put up those stops, maybe a little porch for the rain. We get a lot of bad weather during these months, and I want to make the front look better. That siding is probably as old as a building, and just things like that.
Two questions.
Yes,
Are you the sole owner of the property?
I am.
Do you have a contractor lined up?
Yes,
He's got a firm bid that this will cost this much to do?
yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Move approval.
Okay. Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Chairman, if I can ask a favor, if y'all can all move your mics closer to you, please. We're live streaming and recording, and
My
I'm
fault.
having trouble hearing everybody, so please make sure
all
you're
right.
speaking in your mic. Thank you.
I'm going to speak really loud now, Brian.
He'd probably like that a little bit. Okay.
All right, now it's move on to, we've got several applicants for the south tiers.
Yes. Okay. So for the south, granted that we did have a shorter or smaller amount than we expected.
And let me stop you there. Is this part of the the reopened process? We know we reopened it. Is this all that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There were 3 applicants that we had to eliminate for insufficient applications, so we know there's still some folks out there on the south that are interested in applying. So I think there's been a lot of good work of feet hitting the street and letting people know about
Okay,
this funding.
good. Well, I'm surprised that many, so
It
go
is,
ahead.
it is.
Sorry.
You're fine. So the requested funding amount is the only one we have is over here. This 38, or this 388 is what it would be if you recommended total funding for everything. And then obviously we have the 622 available for assignment. We did rank these in order of, I guess, a point system, I guess you would say.
Correct. This is our recommendation by ranking. So the very first one was our highest ranking. The very last one
It's the
was our
lowest.
lowest ranking. Of course, that's y'all's discretion as you look at the funding on if these projects go to the full level of funding for each project.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with 109 South Chadburn. Their proposed project cost is 115,318. They're matching 40,000 and they're requesting 75,000. Their summary of work is some asbestos, secondary egress, and facade improvement. This is what it currently looks like, and then they would like to obviously upgrade everything on the outside. And the secondary egress is going to be obviously on the inside, and they're wanting to do some apartments, some lofts in there, which is what calls for the secondary egress.
All right. I'll go on the next one.
We have 230 North Chadburn. Their proposed project cost is $66,851. They're matching 18,000, and their funding requested is 48,000. Their summary of work is exterior repair, such as paint, awning, brick repair, and they would like to install a fire sprinkler and then do a mural as well. So this is right on Chadburn. This is what they're proposing, basically just putting some life into it.
Okay.
Next is 208 South Oaks. Their proposed project cost is $13,000. Their applicant match would be $3,000, and their fund requested is $9,000. They want to do some signage, replace windows, and add some awnings and frames. So here's what it looks like now. And they would like to add these awnings, if you couldn't tell they were photoshopped, and then do the sign as well. And we have 76 North Chadburn. Their proposed project cost is $49,000. The applicant match would be $12,000, and the funding requested is $37,000. All they're wanting to do is put a fire sprinkler in there.
Okay.
And 109 North Chadburn, proposed project cost $87,000, applicant match $21,000, and funding requested is the full $75,000, and they're also wanting to do a fire sprinkler. Yes, sir.
You got 87,000 total cost,
Yes, sir.
and you got applicant match 21, and they're asking for 75.
Yes, sir.
So there's something not right on your math.
Is my math wrong? Well, I don't work in finance. That's a good thing.
The ma-
With the same work?
I don't believe these two are owned by the same person. I'll update this for you here in just a moment.
Do what?
I can get this updated for you in just a
We'll
moment.
come back to that.
Okay.
Go on with the rest of the presentation. Come back to that one.
Next, we have 63 North Chadburn. Their proposed project cost is $10,000. They could match $2,000, and their funding requested is $7,000. They want to do some facade improvements to the rear of the building, such as do some rain gutters, fill in the block, and some stucco. This is, they wanted to match this and fill in, kind of just revitalize the alleyway, so to say, make it feel a little more comfortable.
Okay.
And we have 333 Rio Concho Drive. Their proposed project cost is 40, the applicant matches 10, and the funding they're requesting is 30,000. They want to install automatic sliding doors and just replace the glass with that as well. So not too much to compare. They just want to do sliding doors for all three of these entrances. Let me know if I am going too fast. Then we have 223 South Abe. Their project cost is 40,000, applicant matches 10, and their funding they're requesting is 30. They would like to do some ramps and rails, some ADA, and paint as well. So if you can see, there's lines right here for some ramps, and then over here as well. And they just really want to make it more compliant. And we have 136 East Concho Ave. Proposed project cost $95,000, applicant match $24,000, funding requested is $71,000. They would like to install a playground equipment and do some safety surfaces. So here's what it looks like right now, and they would like to I think I have on the next slide a closer up of over here, but they would essentially just like to close in and do a playground. Yes.
Okay, and is that, what business is that?
That's the Autism Center.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
And then here is the list.
And just for clarity, the Autism Center is a for-profit. It's not a nonprofit.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right.
We did double check that as well.
It's not a nonprofit corporation. All right.
I believe some of the applicants are here as well today.
Okay, well, let's, private business.
So after doing the calculation,
On
if you see 109 North Chadburn, the match for the 25% is that 21,820. We simply just didn't take it because they had put 75,000 on there that they were requesting, but they can't request that much. Their amount they can request is 65,463.
Okay.
And so that brings that total down from 388,649 to 376,112.
Okay. Is there any particular one of these applications that the board would like to hear from the applicant on, or do you want to take them
I'd
all up
like to hear
together?
the applicant on the last two, 223 South Abe and 136 Concho.
Okay. Before, you would like to hear the 263 North Chadburn?
No, the 63 North Chapman, I'd like to hear from.
Okay, so let's do this. So we have the 63 North Chadburn, the 223 South Abe, and the 136 East Concho we want to hear from. Just before we get to those, are we okay? And can we just do a motion and approve the others? And pull those three in one motion as opposed to doing it in,
I'll move to approve the others, with exception of those three.
that would be approving A, 109 South Chadburn, B, 230 North Chadburn, C, 208 South Oaks, D, 76 North Chadburn, E, 109 North Chadburn, and G, 333 Rio Concho.
Right.
Motion's been made to approve those. Second. And any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Motion's approved. Now, we will now take up. I guess I forgot. Public comments on those. Do you want to make a public comment, sir? Come on up. Which one would you like to comment on? Okay.
Zane White. I was at the DHRC meeting that approved the 230 and also the two buildings next to it. Maybe planning can help us out here. That's got a metal awning right now, and we're at that same exact issue that we had with the Cactus Hotel, with the fabric being replaced by metal, the original. Again, in the Interior Department standards that the City Council adopted in 2022, it's all spelled out there. It's on the DHRC webpage. Those standards from the U.S. Department of Interior that the City Council adopted. Those are totally been blown off. That's not an original awning.
I understand, Mr. White, I understand your objection to it. The role of this board, though, that's an issue that's taken care of with the historic zoning. Our role is just to determine whether it applies with the requirements for the grants and approve or disapprove. So there's nothing that this board can do to address the issue that you're bringing before us. Is there something as far as whether this actually meets, the criteria that we use in awarding these grants? We can speak to that, but it's the other issue that needs to be taken up with the Historic Zoning Board or the City Council.
Okay. Is it not the case that these projects that come to you, like this one, have to be legitimately, and that's the key word, legitimately approved by the DHRC before it comes to you? Is that or is that not the case?
I'm not going to debate with you.
I'm asking you a question. I'm not debating.
I'm not going to
Is that the case?
I'm not going to take questions from you on that issue. That's an issue
You
that's out of
you
order.
just told me to speak on it.
That is out of order. I said you could come up and comment on this particular
I am
project.
commenting.
You did, but I'm pointing out to you that what you're speaking about is related to the Historic Zoning Commission and the City Council's approval. By the time, once those are approved, once they come here, those are already approved, so that's a done deal from this board's concern.
The City Council doesn't approve anything until you guys do on TIRZ grants. So you're wrong about that.
Sir, the Historic Zoning Commission has approved it before it ever gets to this stage. We do not have authority to second guess what the Historic Zoning Commission has done. When this case goes to the City Council, if you want to object to it at that time, that is the appropriate place to bring that up to the City Council.
Could you maybe explain some reasoning behind that? Because if I'm bringing you evidence that it's illegitimate before it comes to you, as it's presented to you, and then you want to pass it on down the road to the City Council, I've been that route, and, it gets rubber stamped too by the city attorney.
Mr. White, I'm just telling you what the authority of this board is. The policies of this board are it has to have approval from zoning and planning and historic zoning before it ever gets here. All we're approving is whether it meets the criteria for the grant. That's what we're voting on, okay? If you want to object...
That approval has to be legitimate, and it's not.
Sir, I'm not going to debate with you whether what the zoning board did.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you, does it or does it not have to be legitimate?
We're going to cut this off. This is the end of this conversation.
Well, that's real convenient for you guys.
Sir, we're not going to debate this.
This is corrupt. We don't have to. It's obvious corruption.
We're going to move on.
Corruption or incompetence.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. White.
I'm sorry?
Please step away.
Thank you for your comments,
We need to go on
Mr.
with the
White.
business of the board. Is there anything about the comments that were raised that anyone wants to consider or reconsider as far as the vote on items A, B, C, D, E, and G? All right. So what I'm going to do is, we already had the motion and the second. I took the vote too early. We've had the public comment. So we'll now call for the vote. All those in favor of approving A through E and G, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's take these in order. We'll do item F first, 63 North Chadbourn. Hello again.
Bria Burke.
Thank you. Go ahead and tell us about this project.
So 63 North Chadbourn is Yoga San Angelo, and I've owned that business for 5.5 years, and I've done a lot of improvements to the building, and this is pretty much the final thing. The rear end just hasn't been reconstructed. Those cinder blocks are like the original, like, production cinder blocks from whatever facility was here when that building was built. And it leaks through the cinder block, so it needs like sealing and stucco and some new rain gutters and just a clean up in the back of the building. We just finished the facade at the back of 61 with that gray stucco, and I just thought it would be nice just to finish it out to match 61. And so basically, it's just to seal the leaks and improve the quality of the back of the building and the way it looks.
Excuse me, what else is in the back of 63? What do you use it for? Is it just a general back of a building, or is it used for
Well,
parking?
the
or-
building is sectioned, like, has 3 main sections, and that back space there is 1,000 square feet of, like, multi-purpose space. We use it for different events. I do aerial yoga back there. Yeah, so part of my business.
Okay, thank you.
And it's also part of their secondary egress. The fire marshal has that as their secondary egress, and so they're looking to improve that as well for the secondary egress to come out of that building
Okay.
safely and make sure it's a safe, secure area for them as well.
Okay.
Aaron,
Good
does
point,
staff
Aaron.
have a recommendation on this project?
Yes, we do recommend approval. It was on the lower end of an investment. While it is the back of the building, it is still in our historic downtown. It still provides value to that building as a complete building. If she was in a few years, 5 years from now, if she decided to sell it or lease it out again, it would be a good structural building. It does have a sprinkler system inside of the building as well, so it's a building worth saving.
Is that alleyway used for traffic?
No, not public access.
No.
No.
Any other questions for the applicant?
What do you think, Shirley?
I'm listening to what you were saying, and the value would be increased or would be a benefit if it were to be sold. I'm trying to understand.
So many of our downtown buildings, say if this was to be a different business in the future, say something that might be what we would call an assembly occupancy. They require a sprinkler system, they require a front door exit and a back door exit. This is a building that has those things, and so any improvements that the building can have to make it secure, to make it a good functional building are improvements for that building and that block, if you will, for the future.
Okay, and tell me again, can you go back to how much the project is and how much is being requested? Okay.
There it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on this one, or questions?
I move approval.
Mr. Brown moves approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Holmes. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor, or make sure I don't mess this up. More public comment on this one. All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is 223 South Abe. Hi. Can you
My
tell us
name's
your name?
Elizabeth Jacobo.
Okay.
I co-own this building with Angela Wallace, who's over there. And we've been at this location for 18 years. We've been in business for 26 years. Been at this location for 18 years. And we've tried to do modifications throughout the year. This is our third request to be for the TIRZ committee. And this is the farthest we've been, but we're towards the end of our trying to get to everything situated. Our last thing is trying to do some upgrades with the ADA, you know, like we have more traffic now, so we would like to improve the ADA ramps and stuff like that, and just repaint, there's quite a bit of stuff that, you know, minor things that we need to do now, but that's what we're looking at trying to do.
Okay.
What is the business that's in the building right now?
There's several. We lease to 4 different offices there. We have a counselor, 2 medical providers, and our business, we have done medical billing and consulting and auditing for physician and clinics for the last 26 years in the surrounding areas and, well, all over pretty much.
Do you own the building free and clear?
No, sir, we still have a loan on it, but we're on the tail end of it. So, yes. Any more questions?
Nope, I don't think so. Anyone other questions? The applicant? All right. Is there any public comment that would like to speak as to this particular project? All right, any questions from the board or motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Newland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. The last one, 136 East Concho. Is the applicant here on that one? Good afternoon.
Hi. Hi, I'm Janice Kane. I'm the office manager at St. Angela Autism Center. And we originally were there, we came there in 2019. It's now 5 years later. We started with 1 child. We now have 20 children, autistic children. Part of their plan of care is increasing their social interaction. We do that inside of the clinic as well as outside of the clinic. Currently, they go across the street to the Memorial City Park, which is a beautiful park, but these children can easily run away. We have 1 tech to every child. So we have to constantly watch them so they don't run out into the street or into somebody. Or also, we potty train children as well, and they may be, our children are anywhere from 2 to 14, and we potty train children. So we need a place that they can be close to facilities. So going back across the street can be difficult at times. So part of Hannah, the owner of the clinic, part of her vision has always been to have a playground nearby. So we would like to take the current parking area, that's that part right there on the left, take that and make it into a playground, maybe a little garden, maybe a little sitting area, and it would be close for the bathroom facilities, be easy for the techs to go in and out with the children, and it would be fenced in and secure for the children as well. So it really would increase our working space for our children.
Well, and they wouldn't have to cross the street, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And would that facility have bathrooms or toilets there, or would you still be going
No,
inside?
it's very close to the center. So then we would be able just to walk. We would have it where we can walk directly into the building. There's a door on the northwest side of the building, which is, if you look at that left side of that coverage, it would be just diagonal to that.
Okay.
So they, just to make sure, they'd have to go out into the parking lot and walk around that corner where the
No,
pole
we're
is?
going to have it enclosed.
Oh, okay.
There will probably, we don't own the building, we don't own the lot directly west of that building. We'd love to someday. We've tried to own that lot. We can't seem to get it acquired. We can't seem to get the owner to approve that at this point. So ideally, that's where we would have liked this, right directly west of our building. But instead, we'll have to have a little walkway. And it would be a very short, I'm telling you, maybe 15 feet from the door. They're not crossing the street.
I was just making sure I was
That's
following
correct.
these pictures. And how many clients did you say you have?
Currently 20. And we have a tech, like I said, for each one. We also have the providers, the behavioral health providers, or BCBAs is what they're called. So we currently have 2. We're going to increase another 2. That will double our providers in August or September, sometime in the fall. They're passing their exam. There are RBTs that we currently have that are becoming BCBAs, so we're advancing them. And that will increase our load as well.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty imagining this. So where we're looking on the left, this is your current parking.
If I can touch this, or I can move that. Can I touch that? Right. Okay, this right here is where we normally park. It's directly behind the building. But catty corner to that building is this little section right here. It used to be a dialysis provider that was there.
Okay.
We currently park there. And traffic can go in and out right through here to M.L. Eddy's, the back of M.L. Eddy's is what happens. We would close that out where there would no longer be any traffic going through there. So this part right here would kind of come in right over here. We would still be able to park in this section. But we would, on
This
what's
is
on the
all
right
temporary.
side.
These would be temporary structures that you're talking about, the playground and all of that.
Yes, ma'am, the playground, well, it's I don't know if you call it temporary or not. It's like any other playground, like behind I know there's daycares in town that have similar facilities like that.
Yeah, pretty close to it.
Okay. That helps.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On the fly tricks, okay.
And just to clarify, what we're talking about, we're just looking at a picture of it from aerial on Google, and it's across there by the city park.
Correct. It's
Yeah.
directly across from the old Central Fire Station, the old Memorial City, the current Memorial City Park, which is a beautiful park, and the kids enjoy it. But it's
This will
just
just
too
be safer.
dangerous. Yes,
Yeah, for children with autism.
Correct,
That's who you serve.
correct.
Okay. And you've been in existence, what, 5 years now?
yes. Since 2019, Hannah started with one child, which we kept that child until this year, earlier this year.
Yeah. I have a child with autism, so.
I see, so you understand.
Yeah, she's on the spectrum.
So you understand the social interaction is necessary. That's part of it, is the social, just teaching these children how to interact with others, sensory development, speech development, all of this would help with that area. So it's really increasing our workspace is how I see it.
But I also understand that, like, my daughter bolts, you know, so,
Right.
yeah, so the crossing the street,
Loud noises can make them dart,
Yeah,
so.
okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item? Any other discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
All right, Mr. Holmes, make the motion to approve second. All those, any other discussion? I've already asked for public comment, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. All right. So we'll move on to item 8. I have to double check my Roman numerals for a second. To request a possible action on presentation of a city project. Patrick?
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Frerick. I'm the Director of Operations for the City of San Angelo. And I'm here with y'all today to present a project that we at the city are excited about. And I'm hoping that after working together this afternoon that you guys will be excited about it as well. Little history, we submitted an application to TxDOT for what's called a Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Grant. It's a grant that's focused on pedestrian improvements, bicycle amenities, and engineering design that goes along with that. No road work, no street work, no vehicular. It is all focused on pedestrian and alternative modes of transportation. What we came up with was a $23.5 million project. And graciously, TxDOT, out of 312 applications, we were one of 83 applicants that was awarded our project. So we got an $18.7 million grant, and what that means is we were the second highest awardee out of all the applications compared to Dallas, San Antonio, San Marcos, Houston, all of those big metroplex areas that traditionally get all of this money. Now San Angelo, Texas, and West Texas got a piece of that pie, and we're very, very excited about that. So what our ask is of today, back in October of 2022, Shane Kelton presented to the board an option for a project on North Chadburn. At that time, the board wasn't necessarily willing to fund that entire project, but what motion was made and what was ultimately approved was if the city was able to garner some grant money, that the board would reconsider a conversation about providing matching funds for that grant. Thus, here we are today with an ask of $3.4 million, which is the matching portion of just over $15 million of improvements within the TIRZ zones. So a little bit about what is our project. We called it the Community Accessibility and Connectivity Project. There's a lot of little key words there: community, accessibility, and connectivity. What this is it's 11.4 million miles. That's a lot of sidewalk. How about 11.4 miles of sidewalk, 2.3 miles, additional miles of shared youth path. It includes sidewalks, bicycle amenities, lighting, traffic signal upgrades, pedestrian crossing upgrades. And what this does is you can kind of see there on the map, this thing really does connect the entire city of San Angelo from downtown to the north side, all the way down into the commercial district of Sherwood Way, down to the college at ASU. And then it also connects along Beauregard, Shannon to this project too. So we provide a full walkable, fully ADA accessible pathway to get to all these different amenities throughout town. And that's why we're super excited about this project. This is something that without these grant funds, quite frankly, we could nickel and dime it and piecemeal it, but we couldn't get a comprehensive project like we have the opportunity to do here.
Stop right there just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Is any landscaping included in this project?
No, sir. There's not landscaping. There is some pedestrian amenities depending on the design, like benches and stuff like that, resting areas, but it's not landscaping and plants in any of
The reason I
that.
ask that is because if there is, somebody's gonna come back and ask us for money to water them and take care of them. So I just wanna make sure that's not gonna come up later, okay?
Okay. Yeah, that part of is not an applicable source or use for these monies.
All right.
So let's get down into a little bit of the details into the different sections of TIRZ, if you will. We'll start over here on the north side. We'll be providing sidewalks, bicycle lanes, like I said, benches, some bus stop rest areas, and some pedestrian crossings all the way from Golf Course Road here all the way down to 5th Street, and that's kind of on that north section. So we'll be using that whole north side of Chadbourn that just got the full street redone. Now we're going to be coming in and redoing the sidewalks and the pedestrian elements along there too, to provide that ADA accessible pathway along that corridor. The total there, estimated $6.8 million of improvements, 20% local match of 1.4 for the construction of that, $54,000 in design, because we already have a portion of that already designed, so we don't have to redo that, for a total local match ask of $1.5 million.
Who's doing the design?
We have to bid that out. Once we get the text.afa documents and everything, we'll have to go on a competitive bid for those design services. The next little section is we're going to be tying into that 5th Street down to Beauregard, and this is basically going to be an extension of this Chadbourn Phase A streetscape that you see down here from the river to Beauregard. We're going to be finishing that out in that same design and that same elements to provide that look all the way down that downtown Chadbourn corridor.
Yeah.
Again, improvements there, $5.8 million. Local match, we already have a design, so there's no design cost in that. Local construction match of just over $1 million.
And you're also doing some improvements on Beauregard?
We're getting, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of you.
That's my next slide. Good segue.
All right, well, it said it right there, so.
So one of the things we wanted to do with this project too is also tie into our medical district with a connective pathway. So we grabbed Beauregard as part of this project. So we're going from all the way from Cohenheim across. Actually, we're going to go from Cohenheim all the way to Oak Street. And this particular piece of the project is going to be storefront to storefront rehabilitation. We've kind of heard that from a lot of the store owners that says, my sidewalk's broken, my curbing's broken, my drainage isn't good. And so this project is going to help alleviate a lot of that as a pedestrian improvement project. So we're very excited about this little piece because we have heard a lot of feedback from store owners on what do I do about my broken sidewalk in front of my business on Beauregard.
Are you replacing concrete with concrete, or are you doing something different and a little unique?
We can figure that out, but my intention would be to go concrete on concrete. There may be some design element that kind of ties into the Chadburn Street project, but
It would be nice if you'd make it a little.
it's not going to be straight up gray concrete. Let's say that. There is going to be some aesthetic value in this. I know there's a lot of that is exposed aggregate concrete already. We're not going to take that out and just put in dull concrete
You can
back
do
into that.
You can do that and not spend any more money, you know that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So that's going to be part of what we're going to be looking at in those design elements. We're going to be very, very critical in this downtown section about what that looks like from aesthetic value, to not only it kind of meet what we started with that improvement downtown and that whole aesthetic view.
Well, particularly on Beauregard, because Beauregard is still a very vital center of the
Absolutely.
downtown.
Absolutely. Again, Beauregard in that section is a $2.9 million estimate for the improvements in that. Local match 580, design of that 58,000 with a total of 638,000 in local match for that Beauregard section. And then we jump across the river and we finish up the Avenue L project. So the entire CACP project actually goes all the way to Chadburn Street, all the way from the river down to Avenue L and connects into Avenue L. But I'm just showing right here what the TIRZ zone is and which ends at Washington. So the improvements at Washington is 1.1 million, 220 local match, 22,000 of design for a total of 242,000 in local ask.
What are you doing there?
So
What are
that's
you
just,
doing there?
it's going to be sidewalk improvements again, sidewalk, ADA ramps, bicycle lanes, some of those improvements. How do we get across the railroad tracks right there safely and connectively? I know right now that that's not necessarily an accessible crossing. So we're going to be on both sides of the road providing that connectivity
More
through that
concrete?
corridor. I'm sorry?
More concrete.
I haven't found a better bang for your buck in longevity and functionality as concrete. Doesn't mean concrete has to be dull and gray, though. There's a lot of different options there. But again, we do intend to carry on that consistency that we started downtown, maybe not to the extreme of downtown, but we are going to try to incorporate those elements with the lighting in some of
No
the...
landscaping.
No landscaping, though. I will not put a plan in the ground for you.
If you don't want concrete, then landscaping is what you're going with, Stephen. So. God bless the
I can
Romans.
educate you, John Mark.
I know you can.
And I'm not going to put brick down, so...
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
If you go back to that slide.
Yes, ma'am.
On South Oaks, trying to figure out where is Fort Concho in this rendering here?
So Fort Concho, I
Is it not
believe,
visible on the picture?
is right there.
Right here.
So
Yeah,
this
there
is it
is,
here,
yeah,
so
there.
this is it here. Okay, so you're gonna put sidewalk there?
It's not going to connect to the fort, but it's going to be going down Chadburn Street. It's focused along that Chadburn Street corridor is what this
No, I'm
project is
saying on
focused on.
Oaks.
Not on Oaks, no, ma'am.
include
The
Oh,
Oaks
okay.
was
Okay,
tying in at Beauregard is where we were tying into Oak
Okay.
Street. Something I wanted to note too is as part of the grant application, we got a lot of points for local partners in this project. And so both ASU and Shannon partnered up with us in this. So ASU is going to be providing some local match for the area in front of their university, along their university, and Shannon is too along at that corner of Oak Street right there where we tie into their medical facility. So ASU provided $400,000 in local match along with granting us the pedestrian easements to put the sidewalk actually on their campus and kind of weave it through their campus there. And then Shannon is providing $25,000, which is the local match portion of the improvements on their corner.
That 425 has already been taken off of our match, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you want us to finance it? Over 20 years?
I want you to say, yes, I'll give you $3.4 million. Thank you for coming today.
Just write a check, huh?
I don't care how you do it. No, and that's our ask is
The downtown project is done over a period of years.
that is correct. So we
If
do.
you take all this money, we're broke.
We do have some opportunity here. So, like I indicated earlier, this project isn't necessarily designed yet. So we are several years away from actually getting this in the ground. I say that. There's two phases. There's phase 1 and phase 2 of this project. TxDOT, since we had Chadburn Street Phase B ready to go, fully designed, they're going to let us go ahead and get started on that and get that part knocked out. So we're planning on Chadburn Street Phase B from Beauregard to the Loop, getting that started probably January, February of this year. That'll be phase 1. Phase 2 will be the rest of the loop that we still have to get designed, get contracted out, and then construct.
And I think what I'm understanding, what we're being asked today is to, approve the concept and generally the ask of the 3.4. Exactly how and when that gets funded, that will be a separate discussion. Of course, all this has to be approved by city council too.
Right, and there is an opportunity similar to what y'all did whenever y'all funded the first Chadburn Street project, is to allocate a certain number of funds every year for that. So if you just kept that allocation going, you're looking at about 7 more years continuing that allocation, and then you're kind of used to it already in y'all's, daily proceedings. So it wouldn't necessarily be a hiccup, it would just be an extension of that. So we'd be looking at about 7 more years of that continuation. Or we could fund it all in one go.
We were just talking about the Chadburn Street going away, the current dedication that we have for that going away in the next year or two. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, in 2025 was the last year.
2 more years.
So, that's next year. Is there a recommendation that we need to consider now on how we would like to do that, or do we do that at a later date here?
I think the direction that we would like from you guys to city staff is, if you're interested, we'd like to bring back some numbers, particularly for that Phase B, and then what the other phases would look like and when those years would come up. As Patrick has mentioned, it is probably 2 to 3 years before some of the portions would actually take effect. And so we may look at, all right, well, in 2026, 2027, 2028, what do those dollars look like that we would need to commit from the south or the north, and how that plays out?
Well, and I'm just speaking for myself, I think this is the type of project that we should be contributing as far as the match funds to. And the benefit, I think, for the citizens of particularly at the TIRZ zone, but for the entire city, is something we really should be doing. I don't know, do you want to vote from us today, or you just want consensus, or what everybody speak on what they think about it? Or
I think consensus, if y'all have some other questions or direction for us to bring back in the end of this month, we will have another meeting.
Okay.
As you kind of look at that financial statement again, even with the dollars we gave away in the north, we still have 2.1 million available right now today. And if we're bringing in, if that valuation stays at that 1.1 or that 1.2 every year, that's a pretty significant amount of money coming in every year into those areas.
I think that, well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think then what we need to hear from everybody is if this is something you're interested in, and if you would like to have direct staff to come back to us with a more concrete proposal on what our contribution would be to it.
This is a great project, and I appreciate the city doing it but I want to see, to elaborate on what the chairman said, I want to see the city do what they did in the downtown project. Borrow the money, us pay it back over a period of time, just like we're doing now. And I want to see concrete figures. I'm not going to give you a consensus blank check. I want to see proportionate, how much the north should be paying for, and how much the south should be paying for. I don't want it skewed one way or the other, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for the staff to do a little bit more checking and come back with something a little more concrete in terms of when we would begin this process. And again, to what Mr. Brown was saying, what percentage would be removed from the north and or south? Because we know that the north has more funds available than the south does. And so just to be fair, so we could see what percentage of work is being requested in each zone and how we need to equally do that. I understand about the additional funds coming in on a yearly basis, but we want to be fair as well, because this type of, I'll call it a project, could also impact additional types of businesses that could move, especially in the South, to come, because it would generate business, I think, just with the way you've described it here, that may want to create other businesses that are tax-paying businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Holmes?
I concur with these two, and I'm going to bow to their wisdom. So there you go.
Okay. I had a couple of, the TIRZ board length, when was that running until? Like the money, like how long we were going to be able to have this board until it re-upped?
Oh, it's
Wasn't there a date?
Yeah, we looked that up. What was it? It was like 20.
It wasn't too far off.
I think it's about 10 years, but
10,
yes,
Okay.
I agree.
And then back to what Mr. Brown had mentioned earlier today, that just getting the interest figures figured out to where we really know what we're dealing with, because that would make a difference. And then 6 months ago, I know we've contributed money to maintenance on the current Chadburn section. And that was from Parks Department, that they couldn't take care of what we currently have. And it wasn't just watering, it was trucks and manpower to keep it clean.
Cleaning, yeah.
And so what's gonna happen with this, 10 times the length and Parks money?
Good
I
point.
just don't want to get stuck with a maintenance problem. You understand where we're coming from?
Yes, sir.
That we got stuck with before.
Correct.
Another question is there other, that I would like to have the answer to is, this is coming from TIRZ. TIRZ, the section of TIRZ takes up a pretty good chunk of the project, but it's not all, so where are the other funds going to be coming from the match, from the city and other things, just for information purposes more than anything else?
Right,
So we can understand that.
So there's a portion of the project that we already had in our Glen at 29th Street road improvement project that was already committed to pedestrian elements on that, sidewalk improvements. We carved that section out. Now we're going to be getting 20 cents on the dollar for that work. But we took the whole funding allocation, so that's part of that match. Again, we got some of the local partners in there with ASU, and then the rest of it is going to be coming from our bond programs with our street improvement money.
I just think that'll be a question I would like to know. Just kind of get an overview of the whole thing.
Correct.
So we know where it's coming from. Carlos?
Yeah, I think it's a great project to take on. You said you've already engineered the south side?
We have Chadburn Phase B, which is a continuation of Chadburn Street Skate Project from Beauregard to the Loop. We've got that one 100% complete. We've got some of the design along 29th Street from Chadburn Street to Golf Course Road. That design's complete. We would just have to fill in the gap there with design. But
And you could start on that when?
so we have to, it's a TxDOT thing, right? We have to coordinate with them.
Sure.
We have to get our agreement signed with them. Once we get those agreements signed, then we can put out an RFQ for qualified engineering firms, hire them, and get that work started. TxDOT is expecting at this point, about 24 more months before construction would start on that. That's their timeline. I don't think it'll take that long.
Right.
But that's what they put in their presentation to us, is 30 months overall. We're about 6 months into it.
Okay, so how long would that project take on the south, once you get started?
On the south side, we're expecting that's about a 15-month project.
15 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Folks, if we get through paying for the downtown in 25, this might not have any major effect on our ability to fund anything.
Right.
Because we lose about $1 million something in grants, money that we're spending in the city. We do away with that, and we got a new.
Yeah, we're not used to it.
If you do it over 10 years, if you do a 10-year certificate of application, your debt service is going to be about $100,000 per million each year, so that's peanuts.
Anything else, Patrick, or any other questions from the board for now? I think we're interested.
So it sounds like we'll
continuing
come back to
discussion.
you guys with a concrete financing proposal for actual vote and approval at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you very much for y'all's support.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Go
it.
get 'em.
Thank you, Patrick. All right. And just so we can make it all clear, is there any public comment? What?
He's just kind of.
Okay, well, pay attention, Holmes. We're almost done. Is there any public comment on this project, this proposal? I don't see any. Aaron, the director's report, do you have anything else for us?
No, other than we will have a meeting at the end of this month. We do want to work on some numbers for you so that we can see if there is an opportunity to continue a south cycle again. It's coming up late summer, if we have enough dollars to see if we can attract anybody else that might want something there. Again, downtown San Angelo, although they're not here today, they have a conference going on. They have done a great job, as you can see, with the number of applicants. Hannah has done a great job with working with Monica and with the applicants to try to get everything turned in correctly. And so I'm very proud of Hannah and the work that she's done as well. I want to apologize for last week. That was my mistake, that we didn't get everything done correctly so that we could get our meeting done last week. But we will continue to make sure we do that correctly in the future. And then at the end of the month, I know there was a lot of questions that I needed to answer. I will be bringing a short presentation about TIRZ and the purpose and some of those answers next week. Not next week, but the end of this month. And then I think I do want to bring back up the discussion of the nonprofit item for the north so that I can take an item to city council and say we are recommending keeping it the same, or we're recommending changing it. But that would be for next, the end of this month's discussion.
I will be on vacation for that meeting, so we can
Yes.
speak with Mr. Gaylor. Let him know he needs to show up.
I will. Yes, sir.
Either that, or we're going to get one of these guys to do it.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, any future agenda items for anyone? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Mr. Brown, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned.